Good morning, everybody. Coach, you're going to start with a statement, then we'll come around.
I'm sure that you guys all know with all the stuff that's been going on at University of Virginia, you know, my prayers and my thoughts go out to the families out there along with the situation that Coach Elliott has to handle. That is something that affects everyone. It has affected our building. You know, we have coaches that know those players, and they have been, you know, fielding phone calls and stuff like that. So it's a disturbing time, and once again, it puts us back into you know, what's truly important, and you know, family and football, and putting those things in the right perspective. It's a big thing to us. So I'll stop there, and I'll open it up for questions.
Questions? Dan?
You know, when moments like this happen in the world, like you said, family becomes more important than anything. Should always be more important, but to take that focus, just what you do in this moment with your guys, with this community, with Syracuse, to find a way to see the positive, the silver lining, and the family.
You know, no doubt. You think back, and you know, we played those families, we played those guys, and even though, you know, we're competitive in nature, you know, after the contest, you know, there's usually a handshake or an interaction, and you know, there's love transferred between one another. And then when you have, you know, you have coaches and coaches' wives and their families and their kids who have had Thanksgiving dinners with these guys, and you know, our kids and our families, you know, we have this trick or treat thing where the kids bring up candy for all the players, you know, after a certain practice. Has been stuff that we've done for 6 or 7 years. Now you have to tell these young children that so-and-so is not with us. It's a lot deeper than what you know, what it looks like on the surface when you're talking about a tragedy like that happening so close to home, which is really sad, but also when you have people that's really touching it, which they're really on the ground floor. It's an emotional thing.
Question? Brandon, I have one.
Coach, absolutely thinking about everybody in Virginia. On a football note, you mentioned Saturday. You got to do some things different. I'm wondering what you can do different this far down the road in the season.
Well, you know, we explored that. We went into a lot of deep meetings, obviously, on Sunday, and we're going to see what we're doing. We've got a lot of knowledge in this building, you know, offensively and defensively, and we have to do everything in our power to put those guys in the best position to have an opportunity to be successful.
Would that involve you being either more active or less active, taking on more play calling, something along that nature?
Well, we've got an offensive coordinator that's called good plays. He called 6 weeks of perfect plays. So we understand that we're in a 4-game swing the other way, and nobody's more upset about it than everybody that's in this room, but we're also going to stay together, and we understand that not only how difficult winning games are, but how you have to let a week go so that you can get your mind right for the next week, because every contest is a new opportunity to paint, you know, a different portrait. And we'd like to start painting as soon as possible.
Having seen the tape back now, I mean, just what did you think of how Schrader performed in his first game back, and was there anything that you noticed he was still particularly struggling with?
I think the biggest thing on offense, based off of what's happened for a couple of weeks, is we need to all work together, and we need to stay together in order to change the performance that we're putting on the football field. I don't think anybody's happy with the point total, but being divisive is not the answer. The answer is going back and getting back to the grind and putting out the performance that we did in the first part of the season, not the second part.
Did seeing Schrader's film change at all, like how you or the team felt about the decision to play him?
Not at all. Not at all.
Back to Dan.
Dino, in this 4-game skid, the third quarter has been a place where we haven't seen a lot of scoring. 3 out of 4 games, no scoring in the third quarter, and then 10 against Notre Dame. Just what you can say about halftime adjustments and coming out and striking in the third quarter moving forward.
You know, we've tried to do some different things. We've changed where we've cut our halftime down and we started warming the guys up. And it's interesting thinking that they would start faster. Now, I'm almost believe that when we started doing that, we haven't started faster. We may have to go back to keeping them in there and running them out there at the last minute again. But it is something that we've noticed, and with our halftime adjustments and what we're doing in the second half, and we're looking at those things.
You talked about deep meetings. What was kind of the response you've seen from players over the last 2 days or so?
Players are tough. You know, players have integrity. They have character. They have competitiveness. They understand that they put so much into it that losing doesn't feel good to them. It doesn't feel good to us. But they also understand that they get another opportunity to do it again. And nobody wants to win more than the players and the coaches for the community and the student body. But you got to come in the right frame of mind because your attitude is your altitude. And if you want to fly high, you got to start right there.
Coach, Chris Elmore was one of the guys to take the senior walk on Saturday. I know earlier in the season you were exploring a redshirt and him coming back next year. Is that still a possibility?
I really would wish you guys would ask Chris that. We have spoken, and I do have right now an answer to that question, but I think it should come from Chris.
Emily?
Having faced multiple teams now that use these multi-pronged rushing attacks, they have multiple running backs rotating in. Has that changed how you view your running game or brought up any questions of whether maybe you should be using more personnel at that position since it's something you guys have struggled with this year?
Emily, before you got here, that's exactly what we've done. We were like on a 2 or 3 back rotation. Brent was here for all that, and along with all the other reporters that are in here. We used to do that. And when we did that, we did not have 1,000-yard rushers, and we did not have guys doing the things that Coach Sean Tucker has been able to do. So you have to decide what your philosophy is. Our philosophy has moved back and forth. It all depends on whether you've got somebody special. Okay, if you got somebody special, it's hard to treat someone special like they're average. Okay, that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
You know, looking at the offensive line, I know you've gone through injuries and shifting some guys around, but at this point in the season, do you look to maybe rotate a few players in, knowing 4 games or less, you can still redshirt somebody? So what's kind of the emphasis at this point?
Fantastic question. You can get 4 games in there, and they can still hold the redshirt year. There are certain guys we're making counts on right now that may be in or out of the lineup based off of those games. But with offensive linemen, it's their growth. If they're young, usually they don't have the strength yet to get into those battles with those guys that are in there. So I would say that we have some guys that we can rotate in, not as many as everybody would think.
Garrett said after the game you guys are trying to find a sweet spot between the things you've done well and your strengths at the moment. What are your guys' biggest strengths on offense right now, maybe given the injuries and all that kind of stuff?
I think the biggest thing is our triangle. You know, Sean Tucker is a strength, Aronde is a strength. We have to find a way to get Schrader at full strength, and if we can't get him at full strength, then we need someone else or other people to pick up where his weaknesses are and get back to where we had that 3-prong approach that we had in the first 6 games of the season.
He said he's not at 100% yet. Do you think he'll be at 100% before the end of the regular season?
That's a medical point, and it all depends on whether he would go through a game and not get re-injured again, and whether he keeps getting re-injured, and then you don't get an opportunity to see him get to a higher percentile. But that's a medical thing.
Any other questions for Coach? Brent?
Coach, this has been an issue in the month of November, depth, and everybody deals with it in a different way, right? How are you dealing with it right now? You mentioned that Saturday too, maybe some different guys that have to play different ways.
Well, it goes back to you got to rotate certain people who you think You go back and look at your roster. Who do you think's ready? They've been sitting 7, 8 games. Who do you think can help now? And you got to remember that person is going to come in and he hasn't played. And then all of a sudden a whistle blows and you got a penalty or and this happens. You got to be really careful about how you bring those guys in. It goes back to the stuff you did in August when you're cross-training guys. You guys are like, oh my God, you got to cross-train guys and try to get the guys on the field that have played the most, because those are the ones that are going to be the most consistent. And with the consistency, you can form a game plan, whether it's offense, defense, or kicking game. If you put somebody out there that's talented, that's occasional, they may have three plays good, 3 plays bad, and it may not balance out the right way where it could affect the game.
Emily and then Dan.
Speaking of penalties, how do you balance when these young guys are coming in and you know they're going to make a couple mistakes with not letting them make too many and it hurting your team?
We talked about that on Sunday as well in great detail, and trying to find a way to limit situations, and limiting those situations, you can limit the penalties that could occur.
Yeah. You know, this fan base won't get to see their team for these next couple of weeks unless they travel to the bowl game. What do you want to say to the fan base about where this team is at and to stay with them as we go embark on this next year?
You know, the first thing I want to say is the fan base needs to understand that we're all, disappointed about what happened on Saturday. That's not a direct reflection on what we've represented this year. We started 6-0. We've gone 0-4. There's this team that we're about to play, which we didn't get a lot of questions about, since this is my last question. They're in an 0-3 streak, and that stuff happens to teams like us, okay? If you don't have the massive depth that everybody else has, you're going to have injuries late in the season. The thing is that we're playing teams that are similar to us, so they have the similar issues that we have. And now we have to find a way to put our best foot forward, play with our strengths, and shield our weaknesses. And if we do that, then we may have an opportunity to feel a lot better than what we felt last Saturday. All right? Thank you.